Just because you
Right.
have insurance does not necessarily mean that this new venture or a new service that you're offering is going to be covered.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice.
This is the Bender CFO Podcast, where we empower business owners to gain financial clarity and maximize growth.
Welcome back to our interview series where I bring in key advisors who help me provide top-notch fractional CFO services for small businesses. Today, I am joined by Jeremy Roberts, founder of JC Roberts Insurance. Now, Jeremy, he's a trusted insurance advisor who specializes in helping businesses navigate the complexities of their coverage, from group health insurance, business insurance, cyber, general liability, property. He's all about education, proactive service, and making sure business owners have the right protection and value. In this episode, we'll dive into the biggest insurance mistakes growing businesses make and how to avoid them, and why having an insurance advisor, not just a broker, can be a game changer. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone, as we are continuing our interview series with key advisors that I really bring in to help me provide fractional CFO services for small businesses. So I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, Jeremy Roberts. Jeremy is the founder and principal agent at JC Roberts Insurance, an independent agency based in Keller, Texas, with a mission to empower clients through education and tailored insurance solutions. Jeremy and his team specialize in a diverse range of services, including group health insurance, employee benefits, business insurance, life insurance, and cyber insurance. Clients consistently praise Jeremy for his professionalism, responsiveness, and deep understanding of the insurance landscape. One client noted Roberts is a true connoisseur of all things insurance related and is always willing time to explain in detail the ins and outs of our policies. Beyond his expertise, Jeremy is committed to proactive client service, often reaching out to clients with better rates and coverage options. His dedication ensures that clients are well informed and adequately protected, allowing them to focus on what matters most, growing their business and securing their futures. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Jeremy Roberts.
Thank you.
Glad you could join us. And I've got an opportunity to work with Jeremy with other clients, and I definitely have seen how he has really asked a lot of questions, really gets down to what's really needed. I just wanted to bring you on and talk through some of that. But first and foremost, as we try to get to know you, what really inspired you to pursue doing this? Because we know I didn't even put this in your introduction, but you're also an airline pilot. You've done that for years, but you have an agency that does all of these other things. So what kind of inspired you to do this?
Insurance, I just fell into, believe it or not. I started 20 years ago this year. In December, it'll be 20 years at Farmers. So it was a personal lines focus when I first got into insurance. But even that, it was about helping people with their insurance. I quickly found out my dad's he's been an insurance agent for years, but he's now an advisor, financial advisor. But he taught me early on about insurance. And so I knew of it. It was dangerous. But when I started helping people, when I first got into this almost 20 years ago, I quickly saw that a lot of people don't understand it, number one. And then they're sponges. They love to be educated about it. And then you roll into, when I get into I moved out of the personal line space with Farmers and opened my independent agency in 2012, and working with business owners. I find that business owners, especially working with the small business owner, doesn't have a team of financial people that they employ. And so there's not a lot of knowledge, but they also don't have a lot of time to learn about this stuff. So they're looking for like an advisor, an insurance advisor that will look out for their best interests, give them the straight story, not really sell them. I've always, you did mention the pilot thing. I don't do that like a whole lot, but I'm in a unique position in that I don't have to sell you. And so with that always in my back of my mind, I'm just here to help. And I spend a lot of time educating. My whole family's in the education side of the world. They're all teachers, and even my sisters-in-laws, multiple, they're in teaching. And I did teach for 4 years. It's in me. It's in my blood. My dad, he taught in college. And so I just I feel like it's just something that is greatly needed out there is insurance education and trusted advisors and somebody that can help, especially a business owner. I'm a business owner myself. I'm running all the time. And that's the last thing I want to, like for you, Shane, last thing I want to look at are numbers and accounting and all of that. I just rather have somebody do it for me. I just enjoy that. And that's really what drew me into it and keeps me in it and keeps me motivated in the insurance space.
Yeah, that's awesome. I did not know about your teaching experience. I've gotten to know Jeremy over, I don't know how many years. We've been meeting pretty regularly, like 7 or 8 years or so, and definitely know about the integrity and the way that you educate people. And so, what were you teaching? Just out of curiosity, side note, what were you teaching?
I wasn't in a brick and mortar. I was teaching people to fly airplanes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, educational it's a huge component because insurance is so complicated, and they just obviously tend to focus more on the commercial type of insurance, property and general liability, all the umbrella, professional liability. And of course, cyber is, and especially for marketing agencies, which we have a niche around that, or anybody that has a bunch of data in the cloud or on their servers or wherever. Yeah. So tell me, just I'm sure you could talk a lot about the insurance and all the things that are changing in the industry, but what is the thing that you add the most value to your clients? Like, how do you feel like you differentiate yourself from other people that provide the same service?
Yeah. So when I deal with somebody that's had insurance for a long time and is either looking at switching or not happy where they're at, usually the number one thing I see, and this is with a lot of businesses, is that their agent does a wonderful job on the front end and then just rubber stamps it every year after that and doesn't really analyze, ask the questions, revisit things every single year, or sometimes several times a year. And that's, in my opinion, that's where insurance agents and the industry as a whole gets a bad name. So, what I specifically do, first off, I run my agency as I would want to be treated. So I'm a big Matthew 7:12. It's all blurry. I don't know how to change that setting, but it's right there behind
Yeah.
me on my wall. Matthew 7:12, do unto others as you want them to do to you. So I'm a big believer in that. I'm very A-type. And Shane will attest to, he knows that well. And I'm very particular. And so I treat my customers, all of them, and even the people that aren't my customers, as I would want to be treated. And so what we do is we don't write to your business and then you never hear from us again. I'm all over you constantly. And I want to know if your business is changing. And I educate my customers on that when we first do business together, or even when just I'm talking to somebody about insurance. One of the things that business owners don't do that I see that is a big deficiency is that they're not communicating with their insurance agent. They talk to their accountant all the time. They talk to their attorney all the time, maybe their financial advisor all the time because things are constantly moving. But as your business is moving, you need to incorporate your insurance agent into your business communications also, because as your business moves and changes, your insurance needs to also. So that's one of the things that in addition to just constantly reviewing every year, we don't rubber stamp anything. We remarket everybody every year. That's something that's unusual in the insurance industry. And I'm always looking for not the cheapest, because the cheapest is not always the best. I'm looking at how can I best protect your company at the best rate. A lot of times it can be the cheapest, but not always. And then if that's needed, then we can, what I always tell my team, educate the customer, let them know what's going on, what they have, what they need, and then let the customer decide. Let the client decide what they want to do, and then make sure they fully understand what they want to do. So we do a lot of educating so that you understand what is being presented. We let you tailor it how you want. And then we make sure that you fully understand the tailoring that you're doing, whether it's cutting coverage, adding coverage, whatever. And that's really what differentiates us. We spend a lot of time with our clients to make sure that they're insured correctly. at the best bang for the buck.
Yeah. Now I've experienced that firsthand. I remember a few years ago with a client. I think the challenge with all this is that you should shop around, and it seems like the existing carriers or insurance brokers or whoever just drag their feet to almost make it impossible sometimes at the renewal time to get it done. But I remember that client, it was like I don't know, it was getting near to the deadline, and I was on vacation. I was like, oh, we got to get this done. And it was going to be some savings and better insurance. It was the best of both worlds. And we got it through, and his team kept all the information going so that it could be renewed before the annual renewal. Because it does get to be like that. You'd like to believe you have a couple months to do everything, but sometimes you don't even know what the renewal is from the other carrier. And then you're like, you might have a couple weeks, and then you got to fill out all the forms and applications. And so it's a process, but it's definitely worth doing. And tell me though, what are some like mistakes that you feel like that growing businesses make related to insurance?
Yeah, I would say, and I hit on a little bit. I think, especially a growing business, you really have to communicate with your insurance agent. Because so many
Yeah,
business owners, a lot of communication in the beginning, talking about the business, what they do, how they do it, all the different facets of the business, and they get it all covered correctly then. But as a business is growing and changing and adding new services, buying different things, different equipment, different buildings, or moving things around, your insurance must change, because there
right,
is a real possibility, it depends how drastic it changes, that your insurance is not going to cover the new aspect of your business. Different
right.
carriers, some carriers don't do. And I'll give an example. I was talking to somebody yesterday about just doing a day spa type deal. And so I talked to him and said, what are you doing? And he says, so we're doing facials. One company will do that. And so then I started talking a little bit further with him, and he says, yeah, eventually, maybe 3, 4, 6 months down the road, we're going to start doing injections and laser treatment. The company that does only facials may not do laser treatment.
Right.
And so if that wasn't explained to me, or I didn't ask the right questions in the beginning to find that out, that they're moving in that direction, a growing business, changing, that original, even though he has a piece of paper that says he has insurance, there's not really coverage there if you're doing something different. That's on a smaller scale of a day spa. Works the same if you are a marketing firm and then now you're going to go do something completely different outside the marketing space, like PR stuff or recruiting or something like that. That just because you
Right.
have insurance does not necessarily mean that this new venture or a new service that you're offering is going to be covered.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good advice. Yeah. So you experience it a little bit on the annual renewal. They fill out new applications, but as things happen throughout the year, just talking to your insurance broker slash advisor, and I think that's what everyone just calls them, call my broker, but it's really the advisory element of what Jeremy does on the insurance that's helpful. So you could just be, was this the best thing? And Jeremy will even tell you if you've got a better deal somewhere else, which is
Yeah.
rare.
Well, and even take
You
it to
know,
the next step as the advisor role throughout the year as things are changing. So I talked to another person, talking to a lot of people this week. But I talked to another person who's starting a business, and he's in the IT space, and it's all projections and ideas right now. And he's got it pretty honed down. But one of the things that I do, I write a lot of property also. And so that is a big deal with property. As tenants change, and you're just the building owner, as you change tenants, the insurance company that is insuring that building with a different tenant now may say no thanks. And that's something that people don't realize, that the tenants in a building can change. So this gentleman that was in the IT space, I told him, he was floored when I told him this, but I said, as you're signing contracts, and this is a multi-million-dollar business that he's venturing out in, I said, as you're signing contracts, before you sign, of course, you're going to have your attorney look at it. He was going to have his accountant review it. I said, if we do business together, or if not, you need to have an insurance broker look at it, at least the insurance part of it. What they are requiring you to have to go in there as a contractor and work with them. And he came from corporate America, and that was a light bulb that went off for him. Really? Like, I said, yeah, absolutely. Because there are things that you can redline before you sign the contract. But once you sign the contract, as an advisor, as a contractor for this larger company, you're locked in. And same with tenants that are going into a building. There are a lot of things that you can push back on, and you need to talk to an insurance broker prior to signing a contract to see if that may cost you thousands more dollars, or you need to
Yeah.
add another policy to adhere to the requirements. So again, the advisor side of insurance is key for those things, because after you sign, then you go to your insurance broker and say, hey, I just signed a contract with this company or with this lease. Can you make sure I'm following all this stuff? You might find out you got to have 2 more policies now.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I feel like that happens in the marketing agencies where sometimes they bring on a new client, and the client, it's a big one, and they're like, you need to have a certain general liability threshold, and sometimes they don't remember to go look and see if they even have that. And of
Right.
course, if it's a big enough client, they may ask for proof. Sometimes it's just in the writing, and they've got to remember. And sometimes it's like crazy high. You're like, do you really need $10 million or some crazy
Right.
amount? Like, maybe we can do it for 5. And so there's negotiable elements to that too,
Yes.
for sure.
And honestly, a lot of times they shoot high. These attorneys that write these contracts, they shoot very high to protect their client and themselves. And a lot of times you can
Yeah.
push back on that. But like I said, once you sign, it's locked in.
Right.
I have had multiple clients sign a contract, then come to me, or they've signed a contract and then meet me. And I say,
Right.
you should, and they've tried to renegotiate and it's done. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. I can't. Now you just got to pay the higher premiums
yes,
and deal with it
yes.
or unless you
And
want to
something
negotiate the
simple
contract
as,
again.
yeah, something as simple as, hey, we're looking at this contract. Here's the section of insurance. Can you look at this and see if our policy covers all this? And it's a real simple back and forth. And as an advisor, you say, yep, you're good to go. Like, you're more than or equal to this, or no, you're going to need a $5 million umbrella on top of what you have to adhere to this. You might want to push back on that if you can.
Right.
So just little things like that. It's super important to keep your insurance agent, especially when things are growing, when new contracts are being signed. Prior to that, get your insurance broker involved.
Yeah. Yeah. You touched on some of this already, but when you're experienced, what makes partnerships working with other financial professionals successful?
Yeah, I'd say if the thing that I have found is if you connect all of them. So as a business owner, especially a smaller business owner, but even a large business owner, the financial professionals that you're dealing with, that you're in business with, that you're, if you can connect them all, so that the insurance agent and the attorney and the accountant and the fractional, so if everybody's communicating, then, and you give them the ability to communicate with each other. I know there's attorneys will not, without the client's permission and so on and so forth. If the ability, not to give a lot of info, but just, hey, where the attorney might know there's a contract coming, and then he can pass that off to the insurance agent and say, hey, look at this and make sure that the insurance is adherent. So if you could truly get a team, and I see this more so on the really small businesses that don't have all the professionals on staff. Those are the folks
Yeah.
that really need to take each individual professional and connect them so that they can communicate together on your behalf to make sure that you have the best thing going.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that if you're a small business owner, it doesn't really matter. When you're starting out all the way, we focus on $2 to $30 million in revenue, but anywhere in between, connecting all of this is hugely important. And I can't tell you how many times that I've started out looking at the numbers, and I ask that question regularly. Have you checked out? You'll see it's usually a fairly decent line item on the P&L. It's like business insurance. What's it that? Has that been reviewed? Have you had any other broker look at it? And sometimes they'll push back and say, I've had a broker for a long time and they look at it every year. And I sometimes push back and say, it's sometimes nice to have a second set of eyes and make just a double check. Because
Mhm.
as Jeremy mentioned, sometimes they just, especially if they've been with you for quite a while, they might not be shopping around that much or just don't have that advisory type role to ask all the questions that Jeremy and his firm does. Yeah. So tell me a little bit as we move into your personal life or insights. Tell me a little bit what kind of motivates you and excites you daily in your work.
Yeah, I have to say it's just the educational piece of things. What really excites me is the learning about new businesses, getting to meet business owners for the first time, and trying to. I like puzzles. I've always had since I was a little boy. I'm a puzzle guy, and I love the puzzle of a company. The larger, the better is the way I look at it because it's more complex. I said I deal with property a lot, and there are multiple, oftentimes multiple LLCs, and this one owns this, and then I have a business over here, and then there's a business that owns the property, and the complex unwinding of that. And what I find a lot of times, and the attorneys and the accountants are looking at one side of that for the best tax savings and then the best legal protection. But a lot of times that can change the insurance quite a bit. And so I like that puzzle. That's what's fun for me is one, learning about new businesses. It just astonishes me daily talking with
Mm.
new business owners and what they do. I'm like, wow, that is such a cool thing you're doing. Yeah. So I really like that. But the puzzle is what energizes me and keeps me going. I love that. I love making sure. And then what's even better is when I'm talking to a business owner and they're like, oh, I didn't know that. So now I'm getting to actually educate them. And so that's really what motivates me on day to day is I thoroughly enjoy that. A lot of brokers hone in on one industry. Like I said, I do a lot of property and stuff like that, but I don't really hone in because of that. I love the different businesses, the different challenges that present themselves with different businesses. So that's really what keeps me motivated and engaged.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like in the insurance industry, there's a continually more complicated puzzle to figure out.
Yeah,
So you
to
should
stay on.
have more than enough puzzles to keep you busy.
Yes, you got to stay on your toes. It's evolving. We'll put it that way. Evolving.
That's
So,
true. So just last minute thoughts, whether it might be advice for small businesses or trends that you're seeing that really need to that small businesses need to think about. It's just some kind of last thoughts that you can share with us.
yeah. So the insurance industry as a whole is really going through a crazy period. And what I mean by that, you can rewind back to 3, 4 years ago when on the commercial market, all the buildings were being burnt to the ground. Now homes are being burnt to the ground. And believe it or not, in the last 3 to 5 years, there was a massive consolidation in the insurance industry and where companies were merging and going out of business. So there's a lot of flux and a lot of crazy going on in the insurance industry in all states. All states are having issues. Each one has their own unique issue, it seems, but just sticking with the same carrier year over year, you really want to shop right now. When the market is in, what we call it in the industry is a hard market, but when the industry is tightening down, you'll see a lot of non renewals, you'll see a lot of cancellations. That doesn't mean that you can't get insurance. That just means that particular company doesn't want to get into that business anymore. And so, the shopping is huge right now. And I know it's not the easiest thing to do, but getting with a broker, that really helps out a lot because most brokers should and do shop on a regular basis and kind of keep their finger on the pulse of what's going on. The other tip I would give folks is, like I said before, and I'll say it again, is keep your insurance broker at the forefront of your business decisions and things like that. Keep them part of the conversation. And if you can form a team and get that team communicating, that's huge. That will help you out as a business owner. That'll make your life easier when the team is communicating around as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hugely important and great advice. Yeah, the industry's changing and
Yeah.
just means we got to do a little bit more work shopping around. I remember last year was maybe it was 2 years ago where one of the insurance carriers dropped my church entirely, just dropped like
Yeah.
when there was no time to really find another carrier. We didn't find obviously we had to have insurance, so there was another carrier. It was just exorbitantly high price, and then it took another journey of a year to find another solution. But yeah, it was just like nobody would take a church that never
And
filed any claims. It just was like, this is a high
yeah, that
risk,
was a
too
matter
much
of
square footage here, or
yeah,
something.
that was a matter of a carrier leaving the state.
Yeah,
just deciding we are no longer insuring in the state of Texas and just bailing out. And that happens, and it happens quicker on the business insurance side of things than say like the personal side of things. And of course, we're hearing all sorts of stuff about that after all the fires in California and everything. And the personal carriers just non-renewed a bunch of people out there, and the flux. So really, it goes back to having a good trusted advisor on the insurance side of things that can keep their finger on the pulse, know what's going on, can help you when things like that happen. Because like you said, with your church, there is coverage out there. It's just a matter of getting it. And I will say that is one of the many examples of just carriers pulling out of certain areas. And there's going to be more like in California, and that will be a ripple effect, which comes back to the changing landscape of insurance. That is going to have a ripple effect across the country for all insurance, all property insurance. So any business owners that have property, they're going to see a ripple effect. It takes a couple years for it to play out, but there was plenty of commercial buildings that burnt to the ground in that area also.
Yeah, that does seem to affect us all eventually, and more the reason to have an advisor like Jeremy and his team to help on the insurance space. Thanks a lot for this time, sharing your wisdom with us, and we can definitely go a lot farther as a team working together, and we have knowledge in different spaces. So yeah, I encourage you as a small business owner, marketing agency, whatever you're doing, to make sure you have a good insurance advisor / broker, whatever you want to call it, to help you manage through everything. So thanks a lot, Jeremy. You have a great day. I appreciate your help.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. It was a pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening to the Bender CFO podcast. Help us out by subscribing on YouTube so you don't miss another episode, or listen to us on Spotify and rate us 5 stars so more people can get this content to help their businesses grow and be successful.